So with all the talk during the 2024 election, Trump accusing Biden of weaponizing the DOJ, and you just heard that right there from Caroline Leavitt. Is that what the administration's doing now? Full panel with me now. Chris Cillizza back with us, News Nation contributor. Erica Lowe, first time on the show. Hello, former special assistant to President Biden. T.W. Riggi, once again, VP over at Push Digital Group. And Marc Short, former chief of staff to Vice President Pence. Happy Monday, all. Thanks for being here. So you did it, so I'm going to do it, so we're all cool, even though everybody thinks it stinks.
Look, I think that the Biden administration did great harm to the Department of Justice. I do think they politicized it, and I think it rallied a lot of voters back to Donald Trump, and I think he's making a big mistake by doing the same thing.
You think so?
I think the reality is that voters don't like to see the Department of Justice politicized. And so even though I think it was wrong in the Biden administration, I think there's a lot of Republicans who say, you know, it's our turn to get the retribution. I think in the end, politically, Americans don't like to see that.
Yeah, look, I'm very sympathetic to the two wrongs don't make a right argument, but there are millions of Americans who watch Donald Trump prosecuted over and over again in the court of public opinion about Russiagate. The president says it all the time. He mentions Letitia James, that fraud case in New York that everyone knew was bogus. So Trump sees that, and he says, how can they attack me constantly on bogus charges, and then there's no sort of retribution for that, legally speaking. There's no punishment for that. Now I'm going to enact.
If there actually is a case, he's totally undermined the case at this point, because any defense lawyer will show the president's statements and say,
so here,
how can this not be a politicized?
To Marc's point, here was Caroline Leavitt earlier today. Roll it.
Letitia James was actively and openly engaged in lawfare. You talk about weaponizing the Department of Justice. What was Letitia James's campaign slogan? It was prosecute Donald Trump.
Basically, was that, and now the White House is saying, all right, our turn.
Listen, Trump is always the victim when people are investigating him, but he started his career chanting, lock them up. That is what his entire career has been based on. I worked in the White House. We were not allowed to engage with the Department of Justice. And when we did engage with the Department of Justice, it was on policy-related issues, not law enforcement. There is a clear distinction between the way the Department of Justice is being weaponized now and the way that it was being weaponized under Joe Biden. It wasn't.
So I guess the distinction I would make, and I know a lot of conservatives would disagree with this, is that I do think, I'm with Marc and TW in that I don't think all four of those indictments that Donald Trump had against him all happen if he's not the former president and maybe running for president again. Right. I think maybe two do. The Letitia James one probably doesn't. At the same time, I don't think Joe Biden was like, okay, Merrick Garland, let's do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't strike. Were there people in the DOJ who hated Donald Trump and were like, let's get him? I can buy that. I can believe that. This, to me, is a little bit different in that you have the President of the United States publicly telling his attorney general, we need to get these people. And then, don't forget, getting rid of the U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia because he didn't charge Letitia James and James Comey. Like, that feels a little different to me. I'm not saying that Biden DOJ was perfect, pure, and without problem. But Biden himself coming out and doing it, that doesn't float for me.
I just don't see the comparison here. It's completely different. He fired all those inspectors generals in the midnight massacre. He fired Comey and Trump won. He's constantly weaponizing his DOJ. Joe Biden didn't do that at all. I don't understand.
There's conservatives who are going to say, wait a minute, all of this was brought against Trump.
Yeah, because Trump actually committed the offenses. There was actually evidence that indicated that Trump did those things. I don't understand the difference I don't understand the comparison between the two. I truly don't.
So what happens if, you want to jump in?
Well, I mean, look, to say that he did these things, Letitia James' lawsuit was crazy. But also, Jim Comey did lie to the president. He came to him and said during the transition, you're not part of this investigation. We knew darn well he was. And he prosecuted him on a false case on the Russiagate when he knew the information was a lie. So no, I think the Biden administration wrongfully prosecuted Donald Trump. I just think that Americans don't like to see the DOJ used that way.
So what happens when when Pam Bondi comes out and says, case against Schiff, Comey, James?
I would imagine that their cases are not going to go very far again because I think the president has now tainted the case.
What happens, TW? If
I think that's true. I do think there is enough damning evidence on James Comey. A little bit less so on Adam Schiff, unless everything that the president accuses of him of is accurate, then I will stand corrected. Letitia James, look, that was a bogus lawsuit. I don't know if that case would go very far.
Before we head out here, before the break, show the image over the weekend. President Trump, Elon Musk sitting side by side. When do you think we see this again? If/when?
Well, they look like best friends there, don't they? I will note, I said this off air, I'll say it on air. I did think it was funny that, like, the reporting clearly had the Trump people making clear that Musk had come to Trump, that Trump didn't ask to see Musk, that Musk had come to Trump. And we kind of know that. Like, it's an imperfect power balance. Trump is the president.
When do you think we see them together again?
I think one minute you see Trump attacking somebody, the next minute you see them, they're best friends, which is what happened in those Pam Bondi tweets. I think that we need to check Trump's mental acuity the same way that we check Joe Biden's.
TW.
I don't know. I just think I thank Charlie Kirk for bringing them back together. It was a great night of unity, a great message of forgiveness. Hope they keep talking, but he has some bigger fish to fry at Tesla.
The president once told me whenever he heard of a girl about to drop them, he would drop her first. So I think that
I thought that was my bit.
I think the reality is that this relationship is in both of their best interests. I think you'll probably see them partner together in the
All
midterms.
right. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.